Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Discover the new Thea Render 2.0 for Sketchup. Thea for Sketchup plugin is a fully integrated rendering environment that enables photorealistic and physically accurate renderings to be easily created directly inside of Sketchup, eliminating the hassle of importing and exporting models. This is great. Discover Thea for Sketchup, redesign, user interface. Thea renders many other new features. Today's presenter, Antonio Flores, is a rendering expert and Thea render evangelist. Antonio brings with him an extensive history of knowledge and hands-on expertise working with designers in a wide range of industries. And now let me tell you a little bit about Novedge. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software, and we offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's needs. So come visit our website at novedge.com and check out Thea Render for Sketchup. And for more daily software news and promotion, you can find us on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. Coming up next week, a Novedge webinar on productive and effective and efficient training and consulting. And if you miss something, don't worry, we're recording today's webinar, so you can watch it over and over on our YouTube channel. Just search for Novedge. And now, without further ado, I'm going to share Antonio's screen so he can get started right away and blow your mind. Take it away, Antonio. No pressure.
Okay, thanks. So I guess my screen is visible. So hi everyone, I'm Antonio Flores. I'm going to show you the new plugin of Thea for Sketchup 2.0. I will just show you a couple slides and then we'll go straight on the live presentation. So I want to start with the engine description. So the Thea engine is a physically accurate light simulation. This is really a key point for the engine. So it uses the laws of physics and optics to generate images that are not only beautiful but also true to life, as you can really see here on the right side. It has a simple and fast scene settings. This is really another key thing. Since you just need to describe it, you will see in the presentation. And all required data are the ones of the real world that we all know. So you didn't have to invent and guess numbers, strange parameters and things like that. Now, what is spectral simulation? So in the image here on the right, you can see this beam of light bouncing on this mirror, this mirror, this mirror. First of all, it's visible in the air because this is just air, because there's a little fog in the air. Of course, everything is calculated here. And after the bouncing of this mirror, it goes into this glass prism and spread in many directions. And this is exactly what happens in the real world. And it's spread in many different frequencies and colors. And this is exactly what happens in real life. This demonstrates how accurate and complete the light calculation is across the whole spectrum of light. Now, some more about the engine. The engine has a biased and unbiased mode of working. So what does it mean? Unbiased means that it's through to physics 100%, while biased means that you have some parameters to tweak the engine so that it gets faster and a little less accurate in order to adjust more to production needs. So, and the good thing is that you don't have only one or the other. You have all of the possible, intermediate settings, so that you can tune the engine the way you need for the work you're doing and the time you have. It supports multiple CPUs and multiple GPUs. About graphic cards, you can use NVIDIA CUDA cards on both Mac and Windows. And you can use also AMD OpenCL card now with version 2 on Windows. It's a nice addition. Now, let's jump into the live presentation. So I'm going to start now on SketchUp. And here you have the Thea, one of the panel. Here's another one. I moved them the way I usually work so that you can really see a normal session. So first thing I want to do here is to show you here there's a browser. This is one of the very important part of the program, so that you go here and you find materials, you find models, skies, which means HDRI environments you can choose from, and there's also an online repository. We'll talk in a minute about that. So first of all, I want to show you how to insert some objects. All of these materials, models, skies, they're all coming with the package. So they're all included. And there's a huge amount of varieties, for sure, a lot of materials, a lot of also models, also trees and people, and all sort of chairs and lamps, furniture. There's a lot of models, but let's just take a tree. Just double click on one of these and I can insert one wherever I want, say one here, one maybe here. Let's go back on the initial view. Now we can start rendering through this button, start button. So I push there and the rendering is going to start. Now, as it will start, first of all, we start in the viewport because I decided to do that. From here, you can decide where you want the rendering to happen. Plus, here you have another button, interactive or production rendering. We'll see later. We are using now the interactive version. So whenever you start, also this is interactive, so I can also rotate the view. And you see that you got a pixelated image, now very clear. But as you stop moving and wait a little more, it will get refined and refined. So now we can go back on the original view angle and go ahead and maybe change some materials. So let's see how we can do it. From this panel, instead of going to the models as we did, we can go to the materials. Here we have hundreds of material provided with the program. And say we want to change the walls, the exterior walls, and here you see we have a huge amount of different type of bricks, and they are all really well done. So this is the same for all of the materials. They are really accurate. So you just pick one, you double click, you get the material with the bucket icon. You just click on the wall, and you change the material. And just give me a second. Yeah, I think I did a mistake. Yep. Okay. So, and this is exactly what I did in all of the other all the other parts. So I just selected material and I applied in all different parts. So I was talking about the online repository, so I think now it's a good time to talk a little more. So we already had this online repository time ago. It was already available on the web page, but now the interesting thing is that this has been integrated inside the browser so that you can check by clicking one of these category, and you can really find all of the materials that are contained in that folder of the website, so that here you don't see material you have on your computer. They are all online, and you can see that because there's online written there. So whenever you need one of these, you just double click as you normally do with the other material. The material gets downloaded, and then you just apply as you do for all the others. So you don't have to download all of them. Also because here in this online repository, you have 1,600 materials. So it's quite a huge number. So you don't need to download all of them, but you can really browse them, search for every type of material. As you find one, you double click and you apply. So this is a really cool feature. But let's go ahead and maybe change a little bit the water here on the swimming pool. We go to liquids. And here we find maybe this one, which is a same water with just some waves, just to make it a little nicer. if the way the waves are visualized, maybe you don't like it, you want to change a little bit, here in the SketchUp panel, you can edit them and maybe change the texture size so that you can adjust it, and you will see now how it looks. Very good. So let's go ahead and modify a little bit the illumination. So now the light is coming from the sun. SketchUp has a handling of the sun here on top. You know, you can change the month of the year, the day, the time of the day. So as you do that, you know that normally the direction and color change. And here is the same. You just do the same exact thing. Of course, you see the pixelated thing because it's doing real time, starting every time I move by a little pixel, the bar. But I want to show you that you see as I move, the shadows are moving, the colors are changing, the intensity, direction of the light, everything is changing also in the rendering. Of course, as you stop, it gets better and better, right? So there's nothing, I mean, nothing difficult in the handling of the light of the sun and the sky. Sometimes you might even want to have some extra control, like having clouds, you know, or other trees and, you know, mountains, whatever you want in the surroundings of your building. And this is something you can get, again, from the same browser panel. Here you have the skies. So you have all of the HDRIs. Maybe you want some trees or whatever, you just double click and you have them. But also I want to show that if you go on the internet, it's very simple to find a lot of HDRIs and download them, or you can make your own with your camera and you can use them. So let's do this so that we can see how that works. We can go in the HDRI part. For each HDRI, you have 4 channels: refraction, reflection, background, and illumination. I'm activating all of them so that you can see they're all used now in my image. You can have a different map for each one, but of course, normally you use just the same. And from here, you see this little folder icon. You can click and you just browse your hard drive and search and just select whatever HDRI image you want to use, and that one is going to be used by the program. Now, you know that HDRI normally contains also the sun. Thing is that also SketchUp has positioned the sun somewhere, so you have 2 suns, and this is not good, right? So one from the HDRI map is here, and the other one is here, so you have to kind of solve. So this is a normal issue, and I'm showing you here how to solve that. So you just click and drag, and you can move. You see the clouds and all the surroundings are moving around. You find perfect positioning for that. As you are fine with that, then you can take from here. You see there's a link between the sun of Thea in the SketchUp position. So you just remove the link so that you can put the sun wherever you want. So you just click with this cross on top of the little, you know, white dot, and you match them. So now it's fine. They're all in the same place, and we can go ahead with our rendering. So this one is also really simple. So we have done basically everything here. Just one little thing we are gonna improve is the water of the swimming pool. The water swimming pool is now rendered properly in this moment because I use a very accurate material, so that it requires a more accurate calculation. So this engine is not good enough for doing that. So we switch to this one that is capable of doing it. So this is, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but whenever you need, you can switch to a different engine to get more accuracy. And you really see that immediately all of this water becomes brighter, right? We'll see in a minute how this is going to look. But the meanwhile, also I want to show you the darkroom. So here on the left, we have this panel where you have all of the exposure settings, a lot of the different settings, also the brightness, the sharpness, and the contrast and many others. And we are now going to adjust all of this. The thing is that whenever you change one of these, you're not going to restart your rendering. So you can do all of these changes on the fly, even after minutes or half-hour calculation. You change one of these, you don't have to restart. So this is really important. This is really saving a lot of time. Say we want to make it brighter like this. We adjust the exposure the way we like. You see now the exposure of the walls and all the rest is fine, but the clouds are really burned out, right? So there's a burn parameter. You can just reduce this. I'm going to show you now what happens. You see now all the clouds are fine because we reduced only that area. Or you can adjust the value the way you like. Say now we want also to have some vignetting. So like, in photography, you want the area on the corner of the image to get a little darker. So this is exactly what I did. And you can tune the effect. We can also change this contrast value to whatever we like. In case we want, we can also adjust the white balance and modify. And also we have the possibility to simulate one of the many, many, many photographic films that are here. So you can just pick one and activate, and you can simulate the exact film from the cameras. Of course, you don't have to do all of these, so you can. These are just options, so you use just the ones that you need. Now we are done with this scene. Of course, we would need only to wait a little more. I also already did a test to tell you exactly how much it takes. So first of all, I have to talk about my hardware here. I'm working on a laptop. It's 2.5 years old, so nothing very fast and modern. I have one CPU, one GPU, nothing special, so just a normal computer. On my computer, the time for this image to get properly calculated, it's 5 minutes for a full screen resolution for good result, or 10 minutes for perfect image, okay? This is just to give you roughly an idea. Now, also, just one thing, my computer is not running 100% just because since I'm sharing, my voice and video through the internet, I had to save some CPU for that. So it's kind of a little slower than what it should be normally. Just to explain the situation a little bit. So we are done with this. Let's go to the next scene. On this one, now, okay, I've been working with an exterior scene. Now we'll switch to the interior scene. In this scene, of course, interiors are normally more complicated to handle because there's no direct light everywhere. Where in exterior scene, most of the areas are directly lit by the sun. So interior are more complicated for this reason. And someone might be also, afraid for, doing it properly or setting everything the way it works perfectly. So what I'm gonna do now is to show you the worst case. The worst case scenario. So I'm doing all of the wrong things on purpose. So now you see the light coming inside this scene from the window. I'm gonna move the sun so that it goes away. So we have no sun at all, okay? So no sun entering the room. I'm gonna start the rendering anyway. I will show you now by doing this that you still have light. Why? Because outside we have the sun. And by the bounces of the lights for the calculation of the rendering engine, so the light is coming inside anyway. Of course, I could even, adjust a little bit the exposure to make it a little brighter, and the image would be fine anyway. But let's make it worse. So say that you're really messing up the rendering parameters and because you don't know what to do, and you try changing parameters, and at a certain point you reduce the number of bounces of the light to 0. Okay, this is just the worst thing you can do ever, right? So everything becomes totally dark and you are lost and you don't know what to do. So in this case, even in the worst possible scenario, you can really solve easily, because here we have the ambient occlusion. So you just push this button and you get light coming from nowhere. I mean, it's not the sunlight, there's no artificial light, there's no light at all. It's just light that gets added to the scene. So it's kind of, this is not, of course, this is not physically accurate. This is something that's really kind of fake, we can say, but it's fine for really kind of to save, you know, a situation where you can't get out of the problem, even if this is really, I'm painting very the most impossible situation, absolutely difficult to find yourself in. But anyway, so also this is good because it's very fast to calculate. So as you see now, I can look on one side and the rendering really updates very fast. I can also go like this, and I can show you also what happens in this area. So this is also a way of working so that you can look around your scene and you know, apply materials and you know, see everything in real time. And later on, you can adjust the parameters in order to have you know, all of the calculation done properly, as I'm gonna do now. So now I have my sun coming back again. My bounces of the light are working again. And what I'm gonna do now is a normal rendering of this scene with all parameters properly set. Which is, I mean, there's nothing really complicated. I just got the sun coming in again, and I enable the bounces of the light. There's nothing difficult that I did. So now, as you see, the rendering is coming out pretty fast. Of course, I set the parameters in a way that it makes it fast, okay? In fact, you can really see a lot of noise in this image. So this image would not really be usable. The good thing is that I got this in 26 seconds, so it's pretty fast, but of course, it's not usable. So it would be really nice, right, to have the same image very clean without waiting extra time, because of course, if you wait more and you allow the rendering engine to do some more calculation, the noise will go away for sure. But you know, you have to wait more. So let's see if we can do something better. Here in version 2.0, there's this denoiser button. You just push it, look where the noise is, and now we have no noise. This is really, it's really great. I'm really enjoying this feature. I really think this is gonna change the life of, you know, who makes rendering every day, and the productivity really changed. One other thing that we did in version 2 is also to improve the handling of the light. So let me show you the problem first and then solution. So here you see this area is very, very bright. Also this one. So it's so bright that you can't really see the details properly. So this is normal because even if you take a picture in a similar situation, you're gonna get these areas burned. Okay, so we already have this burn parameter very low, so it's doing already some work in order to avoid that. But sometimes you can't really solve. So normally, what should you do? You should, you know, reduce the exposure, make it everything darker in order to save this area or this or this. But this is not nice because you have to change the exposure of the whole image, and maybe you wanted something like this. So how can you solve this? In version 2, we added the tone mapping so that you can go from the standard one, which is the one we are currently using, to one of these three. Filmic is by far my favorite, but anyway, the concept is the same. You just click one of these, and then you have some parameters, and you see, now we have highlights and shadows, so you can control both. And you have the value here, and you can adjust. And so you can save all of the burnt area. You can have the dark area to be not too dark, but the proper amount. And you don't have to change the overall exposure of the image. So this is really another cool thing, in my opinion. I really like it. Now, let's go ahead and see in the same scene a different view angle. And I will just start rendering again so that you can see what's going on from this view angle. And meanwhile, it calculates. You can here see that normals and raw diffuse color are two channels, so they are kind of images that are generated behind the scenes. And sorry, the mistake. The rendering engine, right? The engine is also using those two channels in order to remove the noise. So the denoiser is using these two maps behind the scene, but this is just a technical thing. So also in this situation, we got 28-second rendering, so very fast, nice view and everything, but still we have the noise. So you click again on the same button, the noise goes away and the image is perfectly clean and we can use for whatever we need. So really, this is a good thing. I'm going to show you now the same thing in a even more complicated situation. So here we have, yes, the third scene, where now I'm increasing and increasing the complexity so that you can see all of the complicated things, so all the rest is much easier. So here we have another interior scene. There's no artificial light at all. We only have the sun coming out from the windows and directly leading only this little area here. So I would say 85% of the room is dark, and the light has to come from this area, bouncing and bouncing and bouncing all over. So this is quite a complicated calculation. So normally these type of things takes really long. So let's see what happens in this scene. Just starting again the calculation. And in this scene, I wanted to tune the parameters in order to get a little better definition. So it's going to take a little more, not much, but anyway, a little more. Still, you see how fast it is. Still, you see how much noisy the image it is. So if you look on the left side, where the light is directly lighting, the floor and some areas, you see much clear details and definition. If you go on the right, the further you go from the light, the more noisy it's going to be the image. And here it's really noisy. So this is, you barely see anything there. So even in a similar situation, you can solve with this this button. So again, I can remember easily the first time I've done this, and I was really surprised. So I can imagine now what happened when you use it. I really couldn't believe that a so bad image could immediately turn in a perfect one by just pushing a button. So to me, this is really something that really changed, the productivity a lot. Now, when you use the denoiser, the image is going to be clean for sure. What you might not have is the detail. So let me show you one last little thing. So I'm going to go here in the super sampling area, and I'm going to disable the super sampling. So and now I will start this rendering again. In this case, what's going to happen is that we're going to have the same image once more, very fast, as you will see now. It's going to be just a couple, let's check. Yeah, 10 seconds is written here. So of course now we reduce the super sampling. So the image is a mess. So it's noise everywhere. It's totally unusable. So now let's see what happens if we turn on this nice button here, denoiser. Let's see. You see, it's gone. Even in so impossible situation where you can believe that that image would be used somehow, you can really remove the noise and get a good image. Now, of course, if you look carefully, this image is not as good as the previous one. Okay, but we took 10 seconds. Okay, so what is the difference? The detail and how sharp it is. how cleanly defined is everything. So of course, if you want more detail, you have to wait a little more, but you don't have to wait for hours, just a minute or something like that. So very last thing for my presentation. Here, I just want to show a little thing. You see this bright area? Here you have the dark part of the wood, right? So if you focus your attention there, now I'm gonna turn on the glare and you're gonna see something. Yes, now you see it. So I deactivate and I activate again, so that you can better see what I'm talking about. So of course, now this is something you can tune. This is another nice thing that it's kind of simulating what happens is in the lenses of the camera, exactly there, and it makes the image way more natural. Of course, you can tune. Probably now it's a little too much. I wanted to exaggerate a little bit just to make it visible. Of course, here you have full control. You can tune the way you like. But I think it's a nice addition. Yeah, so that's all from my side. So I finished my presentation. I hope you enjoyed. I really thank you for attending. And now I will pass back to Barbara. Thank you.
Hang on a minute, Antonio. So we have a couple of questions. Well, first of all, thank you
Sure.
for specifying what computer were you working on, if there was a GPU or CPU. So that was very helpful because people had questions about that. And does the Denoiser work on animations?
Yep. The Denoiser is working on each single frame.
Okay.
So for every image you render, you can use it.
Okay. And well, let's see. When the $1 million question, when will this version be available? So
Oh, that you're right.
yes.
I didn't mention that. I should have
Yeah.
done. This is expected by the end of this month.
Yes.
It could be a little after that, but it's around the end of the month.
Yeah, stay tuned and keep checking Novedge.com. The moment it's out, we'll update the catalog and you can find it and you can take it home right away. So any other question? We're waiting a couple of minutes just to make sure no question is an answer. Okay. Joshua wants to know, what graphic card are you using? What graphic card are we using only usable on GeForce NVIDIA?
I'm not sure I got it.
Me neither. So, okay, is there any yes, the graphic, Joshua, can you rephrase the question? Do you want to know if you can use a GeForce NVIDIA card? Or what kind of cards are available that work best for Thea Render? Maybe that's the question.
Just to answer, maybe he will write better the answer, the question. I will try to do my best to clarify. But in the meanwhile, I can tell you that any card that is CUDA compliant from NVIDIA can be used, as I said previously. You see, here I have this little slide. Where's that? Here. So NVIDIA CUDA cards are supported on both Mac and Windows. So if you have an NVIDIA card, you just have to make sure it's CUDA compliant.
He's also asking his question is, do you have to use only NVIDIA cards or also Radeon?
From version 2, which is the version that I just presented, we are supporting also AMD cards with OpenCL technology. Of course, we're gonna give a full detailed list of all of the supported cards pretty soon in the website, so that you can check precisely. But this is the for now the definition. So if you want to go more in details, we can do that offline. You could just write us an email, and I will give the list of all of the supported cards.
And we have a couple of questions about pricing. Anything you can disclose, or
I'm not the right
okay.
person for
Okay.
pricing.
So you guys will have to just stick around and find out for yourself. And sorry about there's an embargo, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just in charge of technical part, so I don't follow
Yeah.
any commercial, and sales part. So
Okay. Um, is also Thea Studio getting updates that you know of, interface-wise?
yes, the studio is going to be updated. Is currently under development. It's a little hard to me now to tell you about when it's going to be available, but it's going to be like around I guess the end of the year. But it's just a little, more or less, okay? Because I don't have now precise timing. Um, eh, I don't know if you guys know about Evolve, which is a software that we have been developing from 25 plus years. And it is a NURBS-based 3D modeler. And so I'm talking about that because um, Thea Studio is now merging together with Evolve, and it's going to be the rendering part of Evolve. So they are being developed together, and as soon as we will release the new version of Evolve, we will also release the Thea Studio part, which is going to be separated from Evolve and made available as a standalone part. Otherwise, of course, we'll have the Evolve software plus rendering. So this is the plan. So about the interface, we are going through a major review of the whole interface. It's totally rewritten, and we are making it way more user-friendly, more simple to use, and more immediate to use. And yep, this is the plan.
Cool, that's good news. Since yeah, we're huge fans of Evolve, so great, good to know that he's getting his
Yeah, me
own
too.
rendering, yeah, embedded. And another question goes, can we expect better performance with the Pascal cards?
I'm sorry, which performance you can expect?
With the Pascal cards, will it be better to use a Pascal card over the V1.5?
Well, Pascal is one of the technologies of NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
Of course, NVIDIA is improving the speed of their GPUs for every new technology they release. So, of course, the more recent it is, the better it will go. So they're all for sure. Pascal is supported one, and it's working on both 1.5 and 2.0. So for sure, it's a card that you can for sure use. Not sure I answered the question. In case maybe.
Yeah, Philip, let us know if that's the question you were seeking. And now a technical question for you that'll make you happy. Is it possible for rounded corners to be applied at render time on SketchUp?
For rounded corners, do you apply a runtime? I don't think so. This is something I don't think there's any feature of Thea that's capable of doing that. I think I understand what you're talking about. So it's kind of a rounding on the fly during the rendering. Well, as a rounding, you cannot do that. But of course, if you're working on polygons, you can use the edge smoothing in order to define which edges are going to show up like smooth and which ones have to show as sharp. that's probably not what you're asking for, I guess, by hearing the question. But just to be complete, I wanted to add that. So probably the answer is no. There's no option for that.
Okay. And yeah, that's regarding the Pascal. Yeah, I think your question was addressed correctly. It's just there was a complaining about Pascal cards are slower, so it's a problem, an NVIDIA problem.
We have done quite a work for improving the support of GPUs inside the kernel and optimize the use of graphic cards. So I think you should check out the new version because I'm pretty sure you're going to see some major improvement.
And I don't know if you know this, but can we expect to see future plugins in the pipeline, like one for Revit or one for 3ds Max? Will that return that you know
of? For what I know, now there are just the 3 plugins, for Rhino, Cinema 4D, and Thea and SketchUp. Sorry, I'm not aware of other plugins being developed at this moment. But for sure we're gonna work more and more in the future, and why not? We might have some other plugins coming, but I don't know of any plan at this moment.
Well, it's good to have this real feedback from webinars, so you get ideas of what your audience requests and what's needed out there. So that's cool.
Very interesting.
Yeah, right. Okay, then I think this is it. I'm going to take the screen back and I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for joining us today. And also, it's important that you know where to come find Thea Render for SketchUp 2.2 once it's out, which is, end of the month, come back, it'll be there. And I want to remind you that next webinar will be on training and consulting for the AC industry. And thanks for joining us today. This webinar is being recorded and you can see it again on Vimeo or YouTube. Just search for Novedge. Thank you so much, Antonio, for joining us today and looking forward to our next webinar together already. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Barbara.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.